Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I've got everything laid out here, getting ready to do my buddy build with Shawn. So I've got my references up, and that's the plane we'll be building. And I've got the decal references up here on the wall, as well as my instructions. So got everything laid out, and I think I'll dig in and start cleaning this stuff up. So starting with those first assemblies there, the crew and all the parts on the interior, the wheels, those blisters, I cleaned everything up. Some parts had more mold mismatches than others, but everything required some cleanup. Then focusing on those blisters on the side there, cleaned up those clear parts, and then on those figures, actually did a little notch in their hands so that the gun would slide between their hands there and look like they were holding it. Then I took some sticky tack and mounted the gun and the gunner there and test fit all of that. Test fit the blister against the fuselage. Then worked on all of the clear pieces, cleaned those all up, test fit those in the fuselage. Then I moved to the tail section pieces there, and then I worked on those front doors. I first added some sheet styrene to those to be able to reinforce the attachment, then glued those into place, kind of doused them in the ultra thin, set them on that flat surface, kind of pressed them into place and let those fully solidify. And then I came back with a ultra thick super glue and kind of reinforced those. So this is where I ended up for now, and then when I address bringing the two parts of the fuselage together and fixing that whole seam, I'll address those as well. And then on this ordnance, I glued those two sides together and addressed those seams. And on these attachment brackets, the machine press mismatches and amount of flash and cleanup on those was pretty intense because there's 8 of them. So as I clean them up, I just kind of separate them into this box. So there they are, complete and dry fit, and then when I go to paint them, I'll pull them apart. Next came this center wing section, and it required a lot of work to conform, and basically what I did was doused every surface area with the ultra thin, then worked my way across with clamps, then worked my way back, adjusting each one and adjusting the seam accordingly, and then just letting it sit to solidify. Then I started working on the portions of the upper wing there and the flaps. You can only go so far because some of these parts need to fit inside the others. So just working my way through cleaning all that up. All right, with all those parts nearly cleaned up, turning my attention to paint. Let me just start off with the primers. As I've raved about in the past, the Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 Black. I got flashed on Amazon on this, and I'm like, you're damn right I want it. So I grabbed that. That's the 1500 in the white. So now I've got the, I think the 1000, the 12,000, the 500, and now the 1500s. That's a little stash ad there, I guess. And as you can see here, the interior is a yellow-green. So I've got my Tamiya yellow and green, and then the flat base, and I'll probably go like 221 or something around there just to bring that down and flatten that entire interior. And then for the crew, I've got the field drab for their uniforms and the brown for their boots, the black for their goggles, and whatever other accents. For the guns, I've got my gunmetal. Then for the body color, you'll recall I did this F4F using this Starfighter set, and the same colors are recommended for the Catalina here on the back. And for the F4F, I used these mission models and still have plenty left over. Wasn't crazy about them the first time. Wasn't happy with the way they stood up to decals. But I'll be more careful this time. And then again, sticking with the Tamiya, really liking their products. Instead of the Tester's dull coat, I think this time I'm going to go with this Tamiya flat clear instead. So that's what I'm looking at paint wise. And with that center wing section done, I cleaned up and then test fit the exhausts in there. And then cleaned up those engine cowls and test fit those as well. Finally, finished up with those outer wings and the sponsons and the pieces that make that up. And I'll leave those apart until I figure out what order things need to be painted in. Then I'll do final sub-assemblies and move to paint. Other than that, I think everything's pretty much cleaned up, and I think this is probably a good place to stop. I know Shawn's been making progress. We've texted each other a few pictures, and I think actually he's a little bit ahead of me. He's already in paint, which reminds me I have to check my spare decals for instrument panel decal. But yeah, enjoying the Spuddy build, and hopefully I can, catch up and get to paint and finish this thing up in one more video. So, as always, hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling.